Hello. So I'm not looking as picture perfect as I would like to look, but I've just returned from my first shot of uh, vaccine, COVID vaccine, and I was kind of thinking, anyhow, I'm practicing humaneness, and it's just another moment where I'm voluntarily going to place where there is an infection and then saying, inject me with the infection. Attenuated dose, nevertheless, it's an infection. Attenuated dose, but nothing different from what it takes to be gentle, kind, and mindful. So I'm just practicing non-violence on a clinical trial apparently with an injected choice of vaccine. Well, basically, I had to get a certificate, at least to begin with, because I apparently cannot go to visit my own family members if I don't get vaccinated. So now I have a choice of, do I want to go to those places or not? But I have a certificate that says I'm vaccinated. So who's got the cards now? Having said that, I thought it is important, since this is also a clinical trial, like literally, they're like, come get yourself vaccinated. So I'm on a clinical trial, and what happens to those people who take the vaccine? And I'm practicing non-violence. That's my whole enterprise about. That's my bread and butter. That's my way of living. That is what gives me reason for existence. Non-violence and peace and harmony and all of that stuff. So now I'm kind of noticing, how is my physiology responding to having a vaccination? And I'm noticing that my body is naturally hyperventilating, tending to take in deeper breaths and then exhale, and pretty regular intervals, which is, and I've been noticing when I have, it's just today that I took the vaccine, and I've been thinking, people are hyperventilating, and I'm thinking hatha yoga is also talking about, take a deep breath in and take a deep breath out. So now I have the perspective of both the worlds. Before vaccination, I cannot say infection because I cannot be sure I wasn't, because I'm not like walking around with a test kit moment to moment, testing myself and saying, okay, now I've got infection, now I don't. But I can say before vaccination and after vaccination. And the clinical trial continues. Yeah. So I'm on my own R&D. But what is available from the after vaccine is that I can now be able to tell what we can do to come to normal respiration. Hyperventilation is not, it's probably part of how our physiology responds to deal with the challenge of the infection vaccination, but also what our physiology needs to go through in restoring health. We used to call it as hatha yoga, breathe in, inhale, exhale, and that used to be normal, and we wouldn't have even thought about it otherwise. But there is reference in science on what is natural breathing and what is hyperventilation, and we didn't have to look at it, except that we've been facing this pandemic, and now the vaccination, I'm noticing, is generally tending to have my body go into hyperventilation, probably to combat. My physiology is trying to combat what it takes to restore and regulate health. And so now that I'm armed with nirbeejification yoga for non-violence and coming to normal, ordinary living, I can specifically make videos, audios, and many other things to help us, humanity, who have been in different stages of, I don't like to say hatha yoga, but then my reference to breathing at least is, it's a lot of doing, asanas, breathing, pranayama, and dhyana, and there's so much of doing to it. So in my perspective, hatha, or the object versus subject world, where one is different from the other, dve, two, male versus female, and then there is this discrepancies, one country versus another country, one culture versus another, one religion versus another. So it's all hatha, hatha, hatha. This, that, yeah, this and that, or this or and that. So all of that stuff. So I call it the hatha world. So it's like put all of them together into just one bracket, and you could say the hatha world. And then there is the nirbeejification. So this is the medicinal intelligence and all of that stuff. Unifying field. I don't think anybody's talking about unifying field. You have the unified field, but that is like, done deal. It's like unified, okay, done. But this is like unifying. It's an ongoing, present, continuous living. So most of us talk about living in the present moment and in a flow and all of that stuff, but we don't have a paradigm from which to have it ongoingly be there, like I do, which is what my enterprise is about. Now I get to actually claim it and be audacious about it, because I've just been awakening to what is that I've been trying to tell to people, and what is that I've been trying to sell. I've been calling it as nothing, and I thought I have an ergonomic challenge of selling nothing to people, and how that sounds in terms of language. I'm selling nothing, I'm doing nothing. Doing nothing is how I make my living. So you know what, it sounds really interesting marketing wise. Then I've been trying to figure out, in other words, when I say peace, it doesn't make sense to anybody. When I'm saying non-violence, it's not making sense to anybody. I'm saying dharmapada, nirbija, you've all heard of all of these words, but it's not making any difference to anybody. And then I had to figure out, why is it not making a difference to anybody? Because our paradigm or understanding of non-violence is pre-Neanderthal. It's going quite, it's, why has Earth formed? Or more like, how has Earth formed? How has life come into existence? You will find all of that in the thinking of what I'm calling as non-violence. So consider our thinking about it is pre-Neanderthal. Well, I don't think I've begun to touch on how old or how primitive is our idea of non-violence that I'm trying to speak and sell the idea of nothing to. So I may be not looking all picture perfect, but you know what? I'm the one who's doing this work. So I get to speak it, say it any way which I please, because all of this is work. Because we are living in a hatha world. So if this is kind of eking you out, that we are all hatha people, we do hatha yoga and all of this stuff, consider I'm not talking just about you, but I'm also talking about you. So if you have this versus that, I versus you, and it raises your, I wouldn't say, the word that's coming to mind is antlers. It raises your, not freckles, well, that's a word too. It raises your thing to now react. Consider that those are the hidden violences that's been inside you while you are talking about being non-violent and all of that stuff. These are all the violences that you didn't know you have within you. So congratulations. If you're in the presence of getting irritated and something just raising up like that, ready to bristle, those are the violences that you didn't know exists within your paradigms of what you call as non-violence. Congratulations. You're aware of this. Work on these bristlings, and you would become more non-violent. You would actually become more non-violent the way you thought you are non-violent. Congratulations. Hearty congratulations. You're coming home to the heart. You're coming more closer to having the different aspects, different parts of your heart coming together, such that even those hidden violences are getting healed the more you work on them. And then you would truly be non-violent, because you would be living from non-violence, so that somebody like me just says something, you're not bristling, ready something is bristling up, because then you know that's the violence is ready to happen. So if you're getting that, if you're bristling now and you're present to what you're bristling by, and you're beginning to think about working on it, then I've done a Good Samaritan's work. So just stay tuned, and I will keep posting more report on what life is like after vaccination from a non-violent person's perspective, a non-violence ambassador, proponent, um, what have you. We have a lot of words about that. But this is what I stand by, and I have now the vaccination, the COVID vaccination advantage too, along with my mighty advantage of having medicinal intelligence. Just double the power. The best is yet to be. We are still gearing up power. My voice is getting more strength with the vaccine. I was actually speaking on my podcast. So this is more a continuation of it, but with the advantage of the perspective of what goes through the physiology. In maintaining balance. So a lot of us have been dealing with this, and we may not be aware of how much we may be going off, being not so audacious, maybe speaking more conversationally. That is what I was practicing with. So now I'm more aware of, okay, this is a physiological reaction, a little, oh, you know what, people, to conversational dialogue. So I'm noticing how I've just taken my vaccine just hardly about an hour or something back. So, and this is, so I'm noticing when I'm going off conversational to being way audacious, superlative. So if you notice any of this, then I'm the person you should be speaking to, because I facilitate natural, normal, conversational living. So you would say you've just taken your vaccine, but I have a perspective of when I am it and what is normal, natural breathing. What I'm calling is nirbeejification. So I have a method of living a normal, ordinary life, of what is normal breathing like. So I'll keep posting. Do stay tuned. Thank you for your attention.